Good morning to all. Today we are going to discuss about the topic is hashing techniques in DBMS. Introduction about hashing is hashing in DBMS is a technique to quickly locate a data record in a database irrespective of the size of the database. For larger databases containing thousands and millions of records, the indexing data structure technique becomes very inefficient because searching a specific record through indexing will consume more time. This does not align with the goals of DBMS, especially when performance and data retrieval times are minimized. What is hashing? The hashing technique utilizes an auxiliary hash table to store the data records using a hash function. There are two key components in hashing. First one is hash table. A hash table is an array of data structure and its size is determined by the total volume of data records present in the database. Each memory location in a hash table is called a bucket or hash. Indices and stores a data record exact location and can be accessed through a hash function. Bucket. A bucket is a memory location in the hash table that stores the data record. These buckets generally store a disk block which further stores multiple records. It is also known as the hash index. Then hash function. A hash function is a mathematical equation or algorithm that takes a one data record primary key as input and computes the hash index as output. Working of hash function. A hash function generates a hash index through the primary key of the data record. There are two possibilities. First one is the hash index generated is not already occupied by another value, so the address of the data record will be stored here. The hash index generated is already occupied by the some other value. This is called collision. So the counter this a collision, a resolution technique will be applied. Now whenever we query a specific record, the hash function will be applied and returns the data record comparatively faster than indexing because we are directly reach the exact location of the data record through the hash function rather than searching through the indices one by one. Example of hash function. Primary key value and then hash function maps a bucket and the hash function value is only remaining of the primary key value. So the buckets are divided into remainder value. Properties of hash blocks. In this strategy, data is stored blocks called addresses that are generated by the hashing process. These records are kept in memory at locations called data buckets or data blocks. In this instance, the address can be generated from any column value using a hash function. The hash function frequently generates the address of the data block using the primary key. A hash function is a fundamental mathematical function to any sophisticated mathematical function. The address of the data block or any RAR that stores the same address as main key within the data block can alternatively throw out as the primary key. Types of hashing in DBMS. There are two types of hashing. First one is static hashing. Second one is dynamic hashing. Static hashing in DBMS. Static hashing in a database is a technique where the size and structure of the hash table are fixed when it created. Here some key points about the static hashing. Fixed number of buckets. The number of data buckets remains contained throughout. Each bucket is a storage location where records are stored. Hash function. A hash function is used to map search key values to bucket addresses. For example, if the hash function is mod5, it will always map a given key to same bucket addresses. Dynamic hashing in DBMS. Dynamic hashing is a technique used to DBMS that handles the limitation of static hashing like bucket overflow. Here are the key aspects of dynamic hashing. Variable number of buckets. Unlike static hashing, the number of buckets in dynamic hashing can grow or shrink based on the number of records. Another one is directory. A directory is used to keep track of the buckets. The directory itself can grow or shrink dynamically. Hash function. The hash function generates a hash value and the directory uses a certain number of bits from the hash value to determine the bucket address. Bucket splitting. When a bucket overflow, it is split into two and the directory it is updated to reflect this change. This helps in distributing the records more evenly. Operations on dynamic function is querying, means looking at the depth of the hash index. Update, to from a query as about update the data. Delete a data from the hash table. Insertion, insert a new record or new record in the bucket. If the bucket is already full, add more buckets. Add additional bytes to the hash value. Recompute the hash function. Conclude the hash function is, hashing in database is a technique that helps in sprinting up data retrieval in large databases. By using hash function to search for records, it overcomes the influence to traditional indexing methods. There are two main hashing methods, static and dynamic. Static uses fixed size tables, with the dynamic adjusts itself based on the data volume. Each type has its own advantages, like static is simple and dynamic is flexible. Thank you, students.